AEW's original plans for Gallows and Anderson have been revealed. Some major changes to a top Raw star's plans. And a released WWE Star reveals their new look. We'll get to that in a bit. So away from the horror show at Extreme Rules, which we'll be talking about at length here on the Cultaholic YouTube channel throughout today. Jack is online now with what happened at. I'll be along later with Graded. Ross has WTF moments as well. But away from that, Slammiversary happened this weekend as well. And it was at 1 minute past midnight that Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson very much became the talk of the industry. They dropped their Talking Shop podcast, announced their arrival for Slammiversary, made their big debut on the night as well, and a few other bits and pieces have come out around that, including how close they came to signing with AEW. It certainly came across as a bit of a bone of contention for them when talking about how they were very nearly part of the first night of AEW. Chris Jericho talks a little bit more about what Gallows and Anderson would have been doing on that night on his YouTube channel. Jericho said, Young Bucks, myself, Kenny Omega kind of convinced Tony Khan that they'd be excellent in AEW, and one of the ideas at one point was to have Gallows and Anderson in the inner circle. There was big talk about their debut, about how on the first pay-per-view of AEW, they were going to walk out at the end and just batter the Bucks and Omega. And it was going to set up, as we say, them joining the Elite with Chris Jericho. There was seemingly briefly some hard feeling because they were so entrenched with the idea of going to AEW, and then last minute they sort of didn't. But it's all fine now. Chris Jericho was lovely about it. He says, I'm very excited for them. They're owning the fact that they made the wrong decision and they went to WWE instead of AEW. Business is business. They did what they thought was best for them and their families. They kind of got screwed because of it. These guys are so funny. The two funniest guys I've ever met. And they've already got Impact. They're going to go back to New Japan. They've got the podcast, Talking Shop. They've got Talking Shop-A-Mania, which is going to be a total waste of time. I'm still going to watch it, but I'm proud of those guys, and I'm happy for those guys. Some lovely sentiment from Chris Jericho against two guys who really set the weekend abuzz, didn't they? If you haven't done so, take time to watch Talking Shop with Gallows and Anderson. If there is one nearly an hour YouTube video featuring wrestlers that you should watch, it's probably Talking Shop with Gallows and Anderson. So they turned up at Impact Wrestling on Saturday night and really made their presence felt in the closing moments of the broadcast. But even again, like the plans for them to come into there, those plans changed quite a lot since the beginning as well. Wrestling Inc. reported this, that originally there were plans for Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson to mix it up with Tessa Blanchard. So the plan was for Tessa Blanchard to be a part of Slammiversary to defend her Impact World Championship in that 5-way match. We understand, according to Wrestling Inc., that Gallows and Anderson were set to come out during that main event and attack Tessa Blanchard during the main event, which would cost her the World Championship, you know, in an attempt to get some major heat around the wrestling world. To have Gallows and Anderson dropping Tessa Blanchard midway through this match would have been quite the sight. However, that didn't transpire for reasons that we know. Tessa Blanchard no longer with the company, new Impact Champion crowned at Slammiversary. They turned up anyway. In fact, staying with Slammiversary just a little while longer, we had a new Knockouts champion crowned at that pay-per-view, and it was Deonna Purrazzo beating Jordynne Grace for the title on the night. And Purrazzo, one of those that left WWE with a lot of momentum behind her, very much the feeling by herself and a lot of her peers that she was wildly underutilized, and had a great match with Jordynne Grace to set things up going forward. I was surprised that she won the title though. And reading what I have read from Fightful Select, I'm even more surprised, as they have reported that despite winning the Knockouts Championship at Slammiversary, the Virtuosa still hasn't signed for Impact Wrestling, and she is working per appearance. It's quite a risk, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, to put your championship on somebody that you've not signed on the dotted line. You know, if you're going to put your championship on somebody, you want to get somebody who's well and truly on the books, locked in, like a Tessa Blanchard. Oh yeah. Maybe that doesn't work then. Still, well done, Deanna Barrazzo. Slammiversary was a great night. Something else I encourage you to watch at some point this week if you didn't do so already. Lots of love for Impact Wrestling. Really feels like a kickstart for them. Once again, the little wrestling promotion that could just keeps on keeping on. And they plan to keep on keeping on. The next time they are on pay-per-view will be Bound for Glory on October the 24th. This is their big end of year, granddaddy of them all type affair. It's the show that's been running all the way back since 2005. And there's some big Bound for Glory moments. And they've got a nice long run now to utilise some of those guys that are now on the books for Impact Wrestling. You know, guys like your Heath Slaters, guys like EC3, guys like Gallows and Anderson, you know, Eric Young, who's now back as well. You've got some meaty additions to the roster to build to something for Bound for Glory. So I'm very much intrigued to keep eyes on Impact Wrestling. Now Slammiversary is in the window and heading towards Bound for Glory. It's been a real up and down year for all of us, but from the booking department, it's been quite a weird old year for Shayna Baszler, hasn't it? Think about this, right? The last WWE pay-per-view in front of an actual crowd was Elimination Chamber. And the last thing we saw on that pay-per-view was Shayna Baszler having obliterated everyone in that match. She was the final thing that we saw. And she was going to take on the world this year. It's gone a bit weird, hasn't it? Fightful Select, basically summing up a lot of stuff that we know already, but it reads for quite a disappointing year. Fightful Select reported a few weeks back that Shayna Baszler hasn't been injured. She hasn't contracted COVID-19. She was just sat back and waiting on creative plans. That's why she hasn't been on TV, because she's just kicking back and waiting to find out what was going to happen. This was going to be the year, according to multiple reports, where Baszler just dominated. She was set to win the Rumble. That changed hours before, with Charlotte Flair winning. She was set to beat Becky Lynch for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania, something that Becky Lynch really wanted to see happen. And that ended up changing as well. And then she was put into the Money in the Bank match, and there was talk that she was going to be winning the Money in the Bank match. And then that changed as well, because they wanted a happier ending so they could put somebody in that position so Becky could hand the belt to them, so Becky could go and be the mum. So Baszler, once again, 3 occasions this year where Baszler has meant to have the world at her feet, and it hasn't transpired that way. But as we say, Fightful Select now reporting that she's not ill, she's not injured, she hasn't been either. She's literally just been waiting for plans for creative. Monday Night Raw tonight, we will see whether they get behind Shayna Baszler, because the feeling really is that there's been a lot of sour on Shayna Baszler, which is gutting, because one of the more unique prospects in WWE right now is someone like a Shayna Baszler. And it's still not too late to turn this thing around and do something big with her. And finally, no way, Jose. No way, Jose. No way, Jose. No more, Jose. No more. I'm drifting. No way, Jose. Back in the news. He has unveiled a brand spanking new look. Take a look at him. He's got new hair. Look at his little face. No way, Jose. Not even No Way Jose anymore. Now going by a bit of a shift on his real name. He's now going by the name of Levi Valles. And he did a video for his social platforms where he kind of sets the table for who he is going forward. In this video he says, quote, "I am essential. I pledge fidelity to the destruction of my former self. I am not my corporately mandated persona. I am not my material possessions. I am not relying on authority to tell me what is right and what is wrong. I will not let my value be based on comments, likes or follows. I will not seek affirmation from toxic group thinking. I will not filter my authenticity of self. I am essential. I will speak my truth through words and actions. I will wear betrayal as a wound of battle. I will pursue vengeance with a primitive, relentless force. I vow to find freedom. I vow to find purpose. I vow to create something that will last. I am essential. I control my narrative. Free Levi Valens. You have been warned." And now the weather. I'm kidding. Big statements by the revamped artist formerly known as No Way Jose. I guess it's getting in on the conversation. A lot of other ex-WWE guys were talked about this weekend, and I guess that he wants to add his voice to a conversation. All the best to him. All the best. You are no longer essential. Good luck to you. Stay safe. Love you, bye.